I only have 3 years to live. And your doctor husband's reaction shocked everyone. Jennifer Parker never imagined that a routine checkup would change her life forever. What began as a simple evaluation of symptoms she'd been experiencing for months turned into anyone's worst nightmare. It was when Dr. Thompson, a renowned specialist from New York City, looked directly into her eyes and spoke the words that would echo in her mind forever. Beside her, Richard, her doctor husband of 15 years, remained completely silent, his face expressionless as if analyzing any ordinary patient's case. Mrs. Parker, the results confirm what we suspected. You have a rare condition called progressive systemic fibrosis. Unfortunately, given the current stage of the disease, our estimate is approximately 3 years, said the specialist, his voice heavy with professional sorrow. Jennifer felt the world crumble around her. Her hands trembled as she tried to process the information. 3 years, only 3 years to live everything she hadn't yet lived, to fulfill all the dreams she'd postponed. "Doctor, is there any treatment? Any hope?" she asked, her voice choked. "There are therapies that can ease the symptoms and perhaps extend the time a little, but I must be honest, it's a disease we still don't fully understand." It was then that Richard finally spoke. Jennifer expected words of comfort, promises that they would fight together, that he would use all his medical knowledge to help her. Instead, what came out of his mouth left her utterly shattered. "Dr. Thompson, I need to talk about our marital situation. I want to file for divorce." The silence that followed was deafening. Even Dr. Thompson seemed shocked by the coldness of those words. Jennifer looked at her husband as if seeing him for the first time, unable to believe what she had just heard. "Richard, what are you saying?" she whispered, tears beginning to stream down her face. "Jennifer, you'll need special care, and I can't handle that. It would be better for both of us to go our separate ways," he replied, avoiding her gaze. Dr. Thompson stood up uncomfortably, clearly embarrassed by the situation. "Perhaps it's best if you discuss this at home. I'll prepare the medical report for the next steps in treatment." Jennifer remained seated, paralyzed by shock. 15 years of marriage, 15 years of a life built together, and he was abandoning her at the very moment she needed him most. "Let's go," Richard said, already heading for the door. "No," Jennifer replied firmly, wiping her tears. "You go. I need to speak further with the doctor about my treatment." Richard hesitated for a moment, but then left the room without looking back. Dr. Thompson closed the door and returned to his desk. "Mrs. Parker, I'm so sorry. In 30 years of practice, I've never seen a reaction like that. Doctor, tell me the truth. Is there any chance I'll live longer than 3 years?" The doctor sighed deeply. "There are rare cases of patients who responded well to experimental treatments. I can't give false hope, but I also can't take yours away." Jennifer nodded, feeling a small flame of determination ignite within her. "Then that's what we'll do, I'll fight." When she arrived home that afternoon, she found Richard sitting in the living room, papers scattered across the coffee table. They were divorce documents, all already filled out. "You had everything ready," she said, more as a statement than a question. "Jennifer, be reasonable. You'll become increasingly dependent, needing constant care. I have my career, my patients." "Your patients," she repeated bitterly. "And what about when you took the Hippocratic Oath? Wasn't it about caring for people when they're sick? This is different. They're not my emotional responsibility." "But I'm your wife. That's exactly why I can't mix things up. Look, I already talked to my mother. She's coming tomorrow to help you with the move." Jennifer felt as if she'd been punched in the gut. "Move? The house stays with me. It's in my name. But don't worry, I'll pay alimony during the transition period." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. That night, for the first time in 15 years, Richard slept in the guest room. Jennifer lay awake in the bed they'd shared for so long, feeling more alone than she ever had in her life. The next day, as promised, Mrs. Wilson, her mother-in-law, arrived early with the expression of someone fulfilling an unpleasant duty. "Jennifer, dear, you know I've always liked you, but Richard is my son, and a doctor can't get emotionally involved with illnesses like this." "Mrs. Wilson, I'm not an illness. I'm a person. A person who loved your son for 15 years. I know, dear, but sometimes life puts us in difficult situations. Richard has already suffered so much seeing patients." "Patience, always patience. What about me? Don't I count?" Mrs. Wilson sighed and handed Jennifer a folder. "Here are the papers you need to sign. Richard wants to settle everything amicably." Jennifer skimmed the documents quickly. Besides the divorce, there was a strange clause about her rights to medical treatments covered by his insurance. Why is this clause here? "Richard thinks it would be better for you to seek treatment with other doctors, to avoid awkwardness." The reality became clearer to Jennifer. Richard wasn't just leaving her, he was making sure she wouldn't have access to the best treatments through him. "I won't sign this." "Jennifer, be reasonable. You're sick. You'll need help. Richard is being generous with the alimony." "Generous? Mrs. Wilson, he's throwing me away like a broken object." The argument was interrupted by the arrival of Emily, Jennifer's younger sister. She'd received a call from Richard the night before, informing her about the divorce but not mentioning the illness. "Jen, what's going on here? Richard called saying you're getting divorced, but he didn't explain why." Jennifer looked at her sister, feeling immense relief at having someone on her side. She told her everything, from the diagnosis to Richard's reaction. Emily was visibly shocked. "He did this? After finding out about your illness?" "Emily, you don't understand," Mrs. Wilson interrupted. "Richard has a career. Responsibilities." "Responsibilities?" His biggest responsibility was to his wife. Emily turned to Jennifer. "You're coming with me, now." "Emily, I don't want to be a burden." "Jen, you're my sister. When Mom and Dad passed, we promised each other we'd always be together. That hasn't changed just because you're sick." As Jennifer packed her bags, Emily confronted Mrs. Wilson. "You're ashamed of what your son is doing, aren't you?" Mrs. Wilson lowered her eyes. "Richard has always been very rational, since he was little. Maybe it's just too hard for him." "Don't give me that excuse. He's a doctor. He deals with illness every day. The difference is, this time it's someone he was supposed to love." Mrs. Wilson didn't respond, but Emily could see tears forming in her eyes. In the days that followed, living in Emily's small apartment in Greenwich Village, Jennifer began to rebuild her life. Emily worked as a nurse at a public hospital and, through connections, managed to schedule an appointment with another specialist. "Jen, Dr. Jonathan Reynolds is considered one of the best in the country in this field. He practices at Memorial Medical Center." "Emily, I don't have Richard's health insurance anymore. How am I going to pay?" "We'll figure it out. What matters is getting a second opinion." Meanwhile, Richard went on with his life as usual, as if nothing had happened. He even started telling colleagues at the hospital about how he'd made a tough but necessary decision. "You don't understand," he'd say to other doctors during coffee breaks. "When you're too emotionally close to the patient, you can't make the best clinical decisions." Dr. Michael Stevens, who had worked with Richard for over 10 years, confronted him. "Richard, she wasn't your patient. She was your wife." "Exactly. It was impossible to maintain the necessary objectivity." "Objectivity? Richard, you married her. You promised to stand by her in sickness and in health. Michael, you don't get it. I saw the test results. The progression of the disease is inevitable. It would be agony for both of us." Dr. Stevens shook his head in disbelief. "Richard, I thought I knew you." What Richard didn't know was that Dr. Stevens had already heard about the case from Dr. Thompson, who was deeply troubled by the situation. The doctors began discussing among themselves Richard's coldness, and his reputation at the hospital started being questioned. Meanwhile, Jennifer prepared for her appointment with Dr. Reynolds. The night before, however, she received an unexpected call. "Hello, Jennifer. This is Dr. Thompson. Doctor, do you have any updates about my case?" "Actually, I have important news. I got a call from Dr. Richard today trying to convince me not to share your test results with other doctors." Jennifer fell silent, processing the information. "He said it would be better for you to accept the diagnosis and focus on making the most of your time, rather than pursuing treatments that might give false hope. And what did you say? That the decision to seek second opinions is entirely yours. Jennifer, in all my years of practice, I've never seen a doctor try to stop a patient from consulting other specialists. It's unethical. Why would he do that? I don't know, but I want you to know I'll personally deliver all your test results to Dr. Reynolds tomorrow. That night, Jennifer barely slept. Why would Richard try to stop her from seeking treatment? Was there something in the test results he didn't want other doctors to see? On the day of the appointment, Emily accompanied Jennifer to Memorial Medical Center. Dr. Jonathan Reynolds was a man around 60, with graying hair and a kind yet piercing gaze. Mrs. Parker, I've already reviewed your preliminary tests. Before we discuss the diagnosis, I'd like to ask a few questions about your medical history. Of course, doctor. When did the symptoms start? About 8 months ago. First came the fatigue, then joint pain. And when did you first seek medical help? 6 months ago, my ex-husband, said it might be stress. Dr. Reynolds took careful notes. And did he oversee your entire clinical evaluation? Yes. In fact, he was the one who suggested Dr. Thompson as the specialist. The doctor seemed intrigued by this. Interesting. Mrs. Parker, I'd like to run some additional tests before confirming the diagnosis. But Dr. Thompson already confirmed it. Progressive systemic fibrosis. Yes, I saw the report, but a few details caught my attention. I'd like to investigate further. Doctor, Emily interrupted, my sister is afraid of getting her hopes up. I completely understand. But as a doctor, I have an obligation to be absolutely certain before giving such a serious prognosis. Jennifer Parker felt a small spark of hope, but tried to control it. What kind of tests do you want to do? Some more specific blood tests and a biopsy. Nothing invasive, but it could give us more precise information. Doctor, I have to be honest. My financial situation isn't the best after the divorce. Dr. Jonathan Reynolds smiled gently. Mrs. Parker, some cases pique our scientific curiosity. If you'll allow me, I'd like to include your case in a study I'm conducting. All the tests would be covered by the research. Emily squeezed Jennifer's hand. It's a sign, Jen. A week later, while waiting for the results of the new tests, Jennifer received an unexpected visit at home. It was Richard, accompanied by his mother. Jennifer, I need to talk to you, he said, looking agitated. About what, Richard? The divorce papers are already signed. I heard you're doing more tests with Dr. Reynolds. So what? Jennifer, you're wasting money for nothing. The diagnosis is already confirmed. These doctors are taking advantage of your hope. Emily, who was in the kitchen, came into the living room. Richard, how dare you? Now you care about her. Emily, you don't understand. As a doctor, I know there are unscrupulous professionals who take advantage of terminal patients. Terminal patients? Jennifer stood up. Is that how you see me? Jennifer, be realistic. Dr. Thompson is one of the best in the country. If he said it's 3 years, then why are you so worried about a second opinion? Emily challenged. Richard looked visibly uncomfortable. Because I don't want to see Jennifer suffering from false hope. Or because you don't want her to find out something you already know? Emily kept pressing. What are you talking about? Richard, Jennifer stared directly at him. Why did you try to stop Dr. Thompson from sending my test results to Dr. Reynolds? Richard's face paled. Who told you that? Dr. Thompson himself. He was surprised by your attitude. Richard glanced at his mother, who seemed confused by the whole situation. Richard, Mrs. Wilson said softly, what's going on? Mom, let's go. I've said what I needed to say. But Jennifer wasn't letting it go. No, Richard, you're not leaving here without explaining why you're trying to stop my treatment. I'm not stopping anything. I'm trying to protect you from quacks. Protect me? You abandoned me when I needed you most. Now you want to protect me. Richard headed for the door, but Emily blocked his path. Answer her question, Richard. Why are you so determined to stop the tests? Because she'll suffer more when she finds out there's no hope. Or because you know something you haven't told her, Emily insisted. Richard gently pushed Emily aside and left the apartment. leaving Mrs. Wilson behind. Her mother-in-law looked at Jennifer with tears in her eyes. "Jennifer, I don't know what my son is hiding, but I promise I'll find out." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. 2 days later, Dr. Reynolds called, asking Jennifer to come to the hospital urgently. When she arrived, accompanied by Emily, she found the doctor with a serious but not hopeless expression. "Mrs. Parker, the new test results brought very important information. Doctor, please be direct. I'm prepared for anything. The diagnosis of progressive systemic fibrosis is partially correct. You do have the condition. However, the more detailed tests revealed that you have a very specific variant of the disease." What does that mean? It means that, unlike what was initially diagnosed, your condition responds very well to a specific treatment. It's not a cure, but it can completely control the progression of the disease. Jennifer felt her legs weaken. Emily held her by the arm. "Doctor, are you saying that—" "I'm saying that with the proper treatment, you can live for decades. A practically normal life." Tears began to stream down Jennifer's face. "But why didn't Dr. Thompson see this?" Dr. Jonathan hesitated for a moment. "Mrs. Parker, the initial test didn't include the specific markers for this variant. It's a more expensive test, not routine. But Richard is a doctor. Shouldn't he have suggested more thorough tests?" "He should have, especially considering you two were married. Any doctor would do everything possible to investigate all possibilities." Emily squeezed her sister's hand. "Jen, you're going to be okay." "Doctor, when can I start the treatment?" "Immediately. I'll prescribe the medication today. In a few weeks, you should already feel significant improvement in your symptoms." Leaving the hospital, Jennifer felt as if she'd been given a new lease on life. But one question kept pounding in her head. Did Richard know about this treatment possibility? That night, she decided to confront him. She called his cell. "Hello, Richard. I need to talk to you." "Jennifer, I'm busy." "Richard, I found out there's treatment for my condition." There was silence on the other end. "What are you talking about?" "Dr. Jonathan discovered I have a treatable variant of the disease. With medication, I can live normally." "Jennifer, these doctors are giving you false hope." "Richard, did you know this possibility existed?" "Jennifer, you're being manipulated. Answer my question. Did you know there could be treatment?" More silence. "Richard, Jennifer, I have to go." And he hung up. But Jennifer already had her answer. Richard knew, or at least suspected, and had chosen not to investigate further. The following week, as she began treatment, Jennifer received an unexpected visit from Mrs. Wilson. Her mother-in-law arrived at the apartment with red, tear-filled eyes. "Jennifer, I need to tell you something." "Mrs. Wilson, are you okay?" "No, dear, I'm not. I spoke to Richard yesterday and found out something terrible." Jennifer sat beside her mother-in-law on the couch. "What happened?" "Richard told me he researched your illness online even before you went to Dr. Thompson." "What do you mean?" "He already suspected the diagnosis from your symptoms, and yes, he read about the different variants and treatment possibilities." Jennifer was stunned. "He knew I could be treated. He said the chances were small, that he didn't want to give you false hope. But Jennifer, I think he saw an opportunity." "Opportunity? To get out of the marriage without looking like the villain. If you died in 3 years, he'd be the devoted husband who had to overcome a tragedy. If he asked for a divorce afterward, he'd seem cruel. So he chose to abandon me now, using the illness as an excuse." Mrs. Wilson nodded, tears freely flowing down her face. "Jennifer, I'm so ashamed of my son. I didn't raise him to be like this." Mrs. Wilson, "No, let me speak. Richard was always ambitious, always wanted to be the best doctor, have the best reputation, but I never thought he'd sacrifice love for it." "For it?" "Jennifer, having a sick wife would hurt his image, especially now that he's competing for department head at the hospital." The revelation hit Jennifer like a punch. Richard hadn't just abandoned her in her hardest moment, he'd used her illness as an opportunity to advance his career. "Mrs. Wilson, thank you for telling me. Jennifer, you're like a daughter to me, always have been, and I'll do everything I can to fix what my son did." A few days later, Mrs. Wilson appeared again, but this time with a determined expression. "Jennifer, I spoke to some doctors at the hospital where Richard works. I told them everything." "You did that?" "I did, and I found out other doctors were already questioning his behavior. Dr. Stevens, who's highly respected, said Richard is being investigated by the medical board." Investigated? For professional misconduct. Trying to prevent a patient from seeking a second opinion is serious, and abandoning his sick wife without proper medical support is too. Jennifer didn't know how to feel. On one hand, she felt a bitter satisfaction knowing Richard would face consequences. On the other, it still hurt to realize the man she'd loved for so many years was capable of such cruelty. Meanwhile, the treatment was starting to work. Jennifer had more energy, and the pain had significantly lessened. Dr. Reynolds was optimistic about her progress. "Mrs. Parker, the results are excellent. Your body is responding better than we expected." "Doctor, does that mean—" "It means you have your whole life ahead of you. What do you plan to do?" Jennifer smiled. It was the first time in months she'd thought about the future with hope. "First, I want to finish my psychology degree. I've always wanted to help people going through tough times." "Great idea, and after that, I don't know. Rebuild my life, I guess." It was during one of her treatment sessions at the hospital that Jennifer met Daniel Sullivan, a 52-year-old widower who was accompanying his younger sister, also undergoing cancer treatment. "Sorry to bother you," he said, approaching her in the waiting room, "but I noticed you always come alone. Sometimes it's nice to have company for these things." "Thank you, but my sister works. She comes with me when she can." "I understand. My wife was treated here for 2 years. I know how lonely it can be." "Your wife?" "She passed 3 years ago. But they were the most intense years of our lives. We learned that real love isn't measured in time, but in depth." Jennifer was moved by his words. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you. But I've learned that when you truly love someone, you fight alongside them. You don't run away." Daniel's words echoed in Jennifer's mind. Fight alongside, don't run away. It was the exact opposite of what Richard had done. In the following weeks, Daniel and Jennifer talked more during their hospital visits. He was a carpenter and had started his own business after his wife passed as a way to cope. "Working with my hands calms me," he said one day. "It's like every piece of wood I shape is a part of my soul healing. It must be comforting to create something beautiful from scratch." "It is. And you? What do you enjoy doing?" "I used to love reading, writing, but these past few months—" "You lost interest?" "I lost hope. It's hard to find joy in anything when you think your time is running out." "And now?" Jennifer thought for a moment. "Now I'm relearning how to dream." Daniel smiled. "That's beautiful to hear." As days passed, Jennifer and Daniel developed a genuine friendship. He made her laugh in a way she hadn't in months, kind, attentive, but respectful. One day, Emily met Daniel when she picked Jennifer up from the hospital. "Jen, he seems like a good man," she said on the way home. "Emily, don't start—" "I'm not starting anything, just saying it's nice to see you smiling again. It's just friendship, Emily. For now." But Emily was right. Little by little, Jennifer realized she looked forward to their hospital meetings. Daniel seemed happy to see her too. One day he arrived with a small wooden sculpture. "I made this for you," he said, handing her a delicate bird figurine. "Daniel, it's beautiful, but why?" "Because you remind me of a bird that was caged and is now learning to fly again." Jennifer was moved by the gift and its symbolism. "Thank you. It's the most meaningful present I've ever received." That same day when she arrived home, Jennifer found Richard waiting at Emily's building entrance. "What are you doing here, Richard?" "Jennifer, I need to talk to you. We've already said everything there is to say." "No, we haven't. I heard you're doing better." "Yes, I am. Without your help." "Jennifer, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake." "No, Richard, you made a choice, several choices." "I was scared, I was desperate." You were worried about your career. Richard lowered his head. How did you know? Your own mother told me. Mrs. Wilson is ashamed of you. Jennifer, forgive me. Can we start over? Start over. Richard, you abandoned me when I needed you most. You tried to stop my treatment. How can I trust you? Because I love you. I've always loved you. No, Richard. You never loved me because love doesn't abandon, it fights together. Jennifer, please. Richard, it's over. Done. Get some therapy because what you did isn't normal. And she walked into the building, leaving Richard on the sidewalk. In the following months, Jennifer's life took a completely new direction. She returned to college, resuming her psychology studies. The treatment continued to show excellent results. Daniel became an increasingly steady presence in her life. He accompanied her to appointments, brought her flowers, and showed small gestures of affection. Jennifer, he said one day after a walk in the park, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you still love your ex-husband? Jennifer thought carefully before answering. Daniel, I loved the man I thought he was, but that man never really existed. The real Richard, the one I've seen these past few months, isn't someone I can love. And you? Could you love someone else? Why do you ask? Daniel stopped walking and turned to her. Because I'm falling in love with you, Jennifer, and I want to know if I even have a chance. Jennifer's heart raced. For months, she had convinced herself she'd never allow herself to love again. Daniel, I'm scared. Scared of what? Of trusting again. Of believing someone could love me despite my condition. Jennifer, your condition is part of you, but it isn't you. I fell for the brave woman who fights every day, who smiles despite so much pain, who shows compassion even to those who hurt her. Daniel, you don't have to answer now. I just want you to know I'm here, and I plan to stay no matter what. That night, Jennifer talked to Emily about her feelings. Jen, you deserve to be happy. But what if he gives up on me when things get hard? What if he doesn't? Jen, you can't live in fear forever. But Emily, look what happened with Richard. Richard never truly loved you. If he had, he would have fought for you. Daniel is different. Have you seen how he cared for his late wife? I have. Then you know he understands what it means to stand by someone through hardship. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us creators just starting out. Now continuing, a week later, Jennifer decided to open her heart to Daniel. They were in his woodworking shop, and she watched as he crafted a new piece. Daniel, you asked if I could love someone else. He stopped what he was doing and looked at her. Yes. The answer is yes. I already am. Daniel smiled but waited for her to continue. I love you, Daniel. I'm scared. I have so many insecurities, but I love you. He moved closer and embraced her gently. Jennifer, I promise I'll always be by your side, on the good days and the bad ones. Are you sure about that? I am, because true love doesn't run away when things get hard. True love faces everything together. They kissed for the first time that day, and Jennifer felt like she was finally starting a new life. Meanwhile, Richard was facing the consequences of his actions. The medical board had launched a full investigation into his conduct. Colleagues at the hospital avoided him, and his bid for department head had been withdrawn. Dr. Michael Stevens sought Richard out in his office. Richard, we need to talk about the investigation. Michael, you know I didn't act with bad intentions. Richard, attempting to block a second medical opinion is extremely serious, as is abandoning your wife in a vulnerable state. Michael, I was desperate. That doesn't justify it. Richard, you could lose your license. That can't happen. My career is all I have. You should have thought of that before. Mrs. Wilson, who had distanced herself from her son after learning the truth, decided to visit him. Richard, I came to return this, she said, handing him a family photo. Mom, why are you doing this? Because I don't recognize the man you've become. The son I raised would never do what you did to Jennifer. Mom, I made mistakes, but I can fix them. Richard, Jennifer is happy now. She's found someone who truly loves her. What do you mean? She's dating a wonderful man who treats her the way she deserves. Richard felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Who? That doesn't matter. What matters is she's happy, she's healthy, and you're no longer part of her life. Mom, I still love her. No, Richard. You love the idea of controlling her, but you never truly loved her. Mrs. Wilson left the office, leaving Richard alone with his regrets. A few weeks later, Jennifer and Daniel decided to make their relationship official. They invited Emily and Mrs. Wilson to a special dinner. "We wanted to tell you we've decided to move in together," Jennifer said. Emily hugged her sister, emotional. "Jen, I'm so happy for you." Mrs. Wilson was also moved. "Jennifer, you deserve all the happiness in the world. And Daniel, thank you for bringing back her smile. Mrs. Wilson, I'm the one who's grateful for finding this amazing woman." That night, after Emily and Mrs. Wilson had left, Jennifer and Daniel talked about the future. "Daniel, are you sure you want to share your life with me, with all the challenges that might come with it?" "Jennifer, when my wife was sick, I learned that the hardest moments are the ones that bring us closest. I'm not afraid of the challenges. I'm afraid of losing you." "You won't. Never." Months passed, and Jennifer's life kept improving. Her medical tests showed her condition was completely stable. She graduated in psychology and began volunteering at the hospital where she'd been treated, helping other patients cope with difficult diagnoses. One day, she ran into Richard in the hospital hallway. He looked worn down, nothing like the arrogant man he'd once been. "Jennifer, can we talk?" She hesitated but agreed. "Richard, what do you want?" "I want to apologize, truly. I know I don't deserve it. I know it changes nothing, but I need to say I'm sorry. Richard, you destroyed 15 years of my life with your cowardice. I know. And I know you're happy now. Your mother told me. Mrs. Wilson isn't my mother-in-law anymore, Richard. But she'll always be family because she loved me when you abandoned me. Jennifer, I've lost everything. My career, my family, my reputation, and worst of all, I lost you. You didn't lose me, Richard. You threw me away. I know. And I know I can't undo this, but I want you to know I deeply regret it. Richard, I forgive you, not for you, but for me, so I can move forward completely." Richard began to cry. "Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being a better person than I deserve. Richard, get help, go to therapy. You need to understand why you did what you did, so you never do it to anyone again." He nodded and walked away. Jennifer knew she would never see him again. 2 years later, Jennifer and Daniel married in an intimate ceremony in the garden of the hospital where she was receiving treatment. Dr. Jonathan, who had become a close friend, officiated. "Jennifer and Daniel," he said during the ceremony, "you are proof that true love exists and can overcome any obstacle." Emily was the maid of honor, and Mrs. Wilson sat in the front row as emotional as if Jennifer were her own daughter. Several hospital patients and staff who had followed Jennifer's journey attended. "Daniel," Jennifer said during her vows, "you taught me that love isn't just promising to stay in the good times. It's choosing to stay, to fight, to support, every single day." "Jennifer," Daniel replied, "you taught me it's possible to start over, to love again, and that true strength comes from the heart." When they kissed at the end of the ceremony, everyone applauded tearfully. It was a victory not just of love, but of human dignity, perseverance, and hope. Dr. Jonathan raised a special toast. "Jennifer, when you first came to my office 3 years ago, you were given a false diagnosis and abandoned by someone who should have loved you. Today you're healed, married to a man who truly loves you, and helping others find hope. You're proof we should never give up." After the ceremony, Jennifer spoke with some of the patients present. "Dr. Parker," said a 70-year-old woman, "you gave me hope when I needed it most. Mrs. Johnson, you taught me age is no barrier to starting over. But doctor, what did you do when you found out your ex-husband lied?" "Mrs. Johnson, I learned holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I forgave, not for him, but for me." "And what would you do if he showed up today asking to come back?" Jennifer looked at Daniel, who was chatting with other guests. "Mrs. Johnson, when you find true love, all other passions seem like child's play." That evening in the apartment they now shared, Jennifer and Daniel talked about their future. Daniel, do you regret marrying a sick woman? Jennifer, first, you're not a sick woman. You're a woman with a controlled medical condition. Second, I married you not despite your condition, but including it, because it's part of who you are. How so? Your illness taught you compassion, to cherish each day, to never give up. If you hadn't gone through it, you might not be the incredible woman you are today. Daniel, sometimes I think you're too good to be true. Jennifer, when you truly love someone, it's not kindness, it's a choice. Every day I choose to love you, and every day I'm happy with that choice. In the years that followed, Jennifer became a renowned psychologist, specializing in helping chronic illness patients. She and Daniel adopted a daughter, Olivia, who had lost her parents in an accident. Mum, Olivia, then 10, asked, "Why did you and Dad adopt me?" "Because love isn't about blood, Olivia. It's about choice, care, and being there. And you chose me? Every day, sweetheart. Every day." Jennifer continued with regular medical checkups, and her condition remained stable. Dr. Reynolds became not just her doctor, but a family friend. "Jennifer, your test results are still excellent. Your condition is completely under control." "Doctor, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "What did you think when Richard tried to stop my tests?" Dr. Reynolds sighed. "Jennifer, in 40 years of medicine, it was the most shocking case of misconduct I've ever witnessed. Not just medical, but human. Did you hear what happened to him?" "I did. He lost his medical license and is now working as a consultant for a pharmaceutical company. His mother still visits me occasionally." "Mrs. Wilson is a special person." "She is, and she always talks about you as if you were her daughter." One day, 5 years after her marriage, Jennifer received a letter. It was from Richard. "Jennifer, I know I have no right to reach out, but I needed to write this letter. I've been in therapy for 3 years, as you suggested. I've realized I've always struggled with emotional commitment, always putting my career above the people I loved. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness again or to justify myself. I'm writing to thank you. Your courage to confront me, to fight for your health even when I tried to stop you, to rebuild your life. It taught me what dignity truly is. I heard you're a psychologist now, helping people like I was supposed to help, or rather like I failed to help you. I heard you're married and have a daughter. I'm happy for you, truly. I also want you to know my mother speaks of you with such pride. She considers you her daughter, and I know you'll always be a better child to her than I was. You don't need to reply. I just wanted you to know you taught me what real strength is." Richard Jennifer showed the letter to Daniel. "What do you think?" "I think he finally understood what he lost. But more than that, I think you taught him how to be a better person." "Daniel, aren't you jealous of a man who had everything I have now and threw it away?" "Jennifer, I just feel sorry for him." That night, Jennifer wrote a reply. "Richard, thank you for your letter. I'm glad to hear you're seeking help and growing as a person. I forgave you a long time ago, not because you deserved it, but because holding on to resentment wasn't good for me. I hope you find peace and who knows, maybe someone you're truly capable of loving. Take good care of Mrs. Wilson. She's a wonderful mother and deserves a son who values her." Jennifer, 10 years after her initial diagnosis, Jennifer organized a lecture at the hospital titled "Overcoming and Rebuilding After Difficult Diagnoses." The room was packed. When I received my diagnosis, I thought my life was over, not just because of the illness, but because the person I trusted most abandoned me when I needed them the most. The audience listened intently. But I learned that sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what we're truly made of. I learned that strength isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling afraid and still choosing to fight. I learned that real love isn't just a pretty word. It's a daily action, a constant choice. And I learned that our greatest victory isn't never falling down. It's always getting back up. Daniel sat in the front row, holding Olivia in his arms. Mrs. Wilson was beside them, tears of pride in her eyes. Today, 10 years after that terrible diagnosis, I can say I'm happier than I've ever been. Not in spite of the obstacles I faced, but because of them. Because they showed me who truly loves me, taught me the value of each day, and gave me purpose, to help others find hope when all seems lost. The applause was long and heartfelt. After the lecture, many people came forward to thank her and share their own stories. "Dr. Jennifer," said a middle-aged man, "my wife is going through something similar. I'm trying to be strong for her." "The secret isn't to be strong," Jennifer replied. "It's to be present, be there for her, hold her hand, cry with her if you need to, but don't leave her side." "And what if I don't know what to say?" "Sometimes words aren't necessary. Sometimes just being there is enough." That night at home, Jennifer reflected on her journey with Daniel. "Daniel, do you ever regret marrying me?" "Jennifer, we've been married for 10 years. When are you going to stop asking me that?" he answered with a laugh. "I'm sorry, it's just that sometimes I still can't believe all of this is real." "You want to know the difference between me and Richard?" "What?" "Richard saw your illness as an obstacle. I see it as part of your story, part of the woman who made me fall head over heels in love." "How so?" "Jennifer, your illness taught you compassion, empathy, and strength. If you hadn't gone through it, you might have been a different person. And I fell in love with this woman, complete with all her story. Daniel, I love you so much. And I love you more every day. Because true love doesn't fade with time. It grows." End of story. Now tell me, what did you think of this story of resilience and true love? Do you think Jennifer made the right decisions? Do you believe forgiveness can truly free our hearts? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartfelt stories that will touch your soul.